Welcome to Palace Insider, where we peel back the fancy layers and show what's really going down behind those royal smiles. I didn't think this interview could sink any lower, but somehow it did.
I think our character, who we are at your core, I don't think that should.
And not in a small way either. It completely derailed in that awkward, secondhand embarrassment kind of way that makes people sigh, roll their eyes, and click away muttering, "Come on now." Do they really think we're that clueless?
That's why a lot of these celebrities that start these things, they can't keep up. Like the Meghan Markle.
This wasn't subtle. Everyone caught the weird energy instantly, like a bad vibe spreading through the room. So today, I'm saying out loud what everyone else noticed, but didn't have the patience to break down. No fake sweetness, no soft talk, just the real deal that everyone clocked right away. I'm keeping it raw, keeping it straight, and yes, it's about to get spicy, because the gap between what's being said and what's really happening is too loud to ignore anymore.
I think a lot of behaviors and habits and roles that you end up playing in your life can bring out the best or worst in a lot of people, but you're still who you are.
Here's the real issue with that interview. It's pretending to be all real life, but every move screams brand control. It's like they want us to trust them, but never drop a single piece of proof. They sprinkle in cozy words like joy, home, and authentic. But if you actually listen, what comes through is control, distance, and polished spin. The vibe doesn't match the message, and that's why people got irritated, not out of hate or jealousy, but because the whole thing just didn't feel real. It's because the whole story just doesn't sit right once you actually think about it. Let's start with that. "I don't have time to cook dinner" line. On its own, fine. A lot of people don't cook every night. Plenty grab takeout, no problem there. But in this context, it feels staged, like they're trying to perform relatability instead of just keeping it real.
Like, guys, you don't got to do this. Please, I'm begging you to stop.
You're telling us you wipe the plate edges, plate the takeout perfectly, and make sure everything looks camera ready. Okay, cool. But if the goal is to show real life, then just show real life. Don't dress it up like you're living the same grind as everyone else when you're clearly not.
I'm a little bit vintage in many ways because I'm from a time capsule of handwritten.
If your days are packed with meetings, calls, brand strategy talks, and photo shoots, then just say that. If you've got help keeping the house running, admit it. There's nothing wrong with that. The act of pretending to be normal while living a seriously not normal life, that's what makes people cringe hard. Just keep it real. Say, "I don't cook. Most nights we order in, and I like making it look nice." That's chill. That's human. But saying "I don't have time" while sitting on a mountain of support just lands weird. It's not mean or evil. It's just tone deaf. Then comes the whole sold-out hype. Sure, it sounds massive. It feels like a win. But when there are no numbers behind it, it means nothing. Anyone can sell out if the batch is tiny. If you make 50 items and they're gone in an hour, that's not wild demand. That's plain math.
I have to imagine Siri's not on my phone. I don't have location service, things like that I'm not caught up in the day-to-day tech things that most people are.
The interview brags about 8 to 10 times more next drop, then jumps straight into talking about needing purchase orders for 1 million jars and lids. 1 million! It's dramatic talk without real context, and people caught that instantly. That's not a small step. It's a giant leap. You only take that kind of leap if you've got signed contracts and actual repeat buyers backing you up. Otherwise, it's not a business plan. It's just a flashy headline dressed up for attention. If that jump is real, then show proof. Show a retailer test run. Show the co-packer's schedule, the production sheets, the capacity numbers. Show the boring behind-the-scenes stuff that proves it's real. True founders deal with yield percentages, flavor consistency, sugar levels, shelf life tests, and even spoiled product returns. It's not all cute packaging and perfect lighting. You don't need to spill trade secrets. Just prove it's more than a press photo and a polished soundbite. Because right now, it sounds like a story built for headlines, not a business built on a real supply chain. And that home recipe talk? Come on.
Back on Instagram was a really big decision, but also it's just been joyful.
Scaling food isn't some walk in the park. It's chaos, science, and problem solving all at once. I respect anyone who really does it for real, but the way this story is told, it doesn't sound like someone who's actually been through the grind. It sounds like someone trying to sound like they have. Real founders talk differently. They name their co-packers without flinching. They mention heat curves, failed fruit batches, and the brutal moments where you've got to dump an entire run because something went wrong. They talk about the constant fight between taste, safety, and cost. Because you never win all three perfectly. And they'll shout out the plant manager who saved a whole batch at the last second. They'll tell you about that nightmare week where a label spec went wrong and pallets had to be relabeled by hand until dawn. That's real pain. That's real hustle. But here's the real truth. Once you start scaling food, it stops being just a recipe and turns into a system. A real, complicated, moving system with people, processes, and long nights making it all click. And when that system actually works, you don't just brag about yourself. You shout out the crew who built it with you, because that's what real builders do. If you can't even name those people, the story starts to sound like something written for a glossy magazine spread, not something earned through sweat, stress, and lessons learned on the factory floor.
You just can't keep faking it. It's too hard.
Then comes the talk about price and that whole BB shirt memory. I get it. The brand's trying to walk that tight line. Fancy, but still reachable. That little thrill of, I can have a piece of that world, is powerful. But the memory itself, it quietly gives away the entire pitch. The heart of that story isn't about family, flavor, or craft. It's about a rhinestone logo and the feeling of being seen while wearing it. That's status marketing, plain and simple. And that's fine. Status sells. But don't try to wrap it up in words like authentic and act like it's something deep or soulful. If the brand is really about glow, shine, and showing off a little, then just say that. People would still buy it proudly. What turns them off is being guided through a dreamy fairy tale while someone quietly reaches for their wallet.
Actually get a drink in peace?
Yes.
Yeah.
We go out a lot. I love.
And then there's the keepsake jar pitch. You finish the jam, and now you're supposed to keep the jar for flowers or pens. Cute idea, sure. But again, it says the quiet part out loud. The brand doesn't just want you to enjoy the jam. It wants to stay on your desk long after the flavor's gone. It wants to be a little branded totem in your home. And let's be honest, that's not home. That's marketing. That's branding. Pure marketing psychology in action. And here's the thing. If the jam is actually fire, the jar will feel special all on its own. You don't need to push the jar. Just sell what's inside. Because if you're selling me a memory and I take one taste that feels like clickbait, I'm not keeping the jar. I'm keeping the note that says, this brand overpromised. That's the part people don't forget.
I'm really unapologetic about the fact that though would it be lovely to go and churn your own butter? Sure, maybe. I don't have time for that.
You literally waste time in your garden all the time to get flower sprinkles, so you say. How do you have time for any of this?
Then comes that overused buzzword that keeps getting tossed around like it's some magic charm. Authenticity. The brand swears it stands out because it's real. The Instagram feeds look joyful, the posts feel personal, but the product pages? Straight promo. The captions sound copied, the photos are too staged, and honestly, none of that's a crime. Every brand curates. But the problem starts when they call curation real life. And worse, when any kind of criticism gets treated like cruelty.
I cannot imagine having a meal with Meghan Markle or trying to cook and she's literally cleaning, changing the order on the plates to make... No one cares!
If you really want to keep it real, then just be transparent about the setup. Say, we style, we plan, we shoot, and we try to make nice things. But we're still human. That's believable. That's what real people connect with. Because authentic isn't a word you can assign to yourself. It's something your audience gives you when they feel the truth behind it. Shouting it louder doesn't make it more real.
And it seems like that lady is a temptress. She's a siren. She's lured him into the rocks.
Now let's talk about the Netflix part, because this is where the story really starts to slip. Investor, partner, supplier, network. That's not small-time stuff. That's a full-blown operation. And if you're plugged into a powerhouse like that, just own it. Stop acting like it's a small kitchen dream. Call the brand what it actually is. A media brand with a consumer product arm. There's no shame in that, but there is in pretending it's something it's not. Content, community, commerce, all running on the same engine. People get that set up right away. What doesn't fly is calling the media world a cruel machine one minute, then leaning on a global streaming giant to build your dream the next. You can't call the machine toxic when it's talking about you, but turn around and call it perfect when it's cutting the checks. That kind of double talk sticks out fast. The audience notices instantly. It's not that people want to see you flop, they just want you to pick a lane, or at least be honest about the trade-off. If criticism is the machine, but funding is the opportunity, then say that. People can respect honesty, but they can't stand inconsistency. Just say the quiet part out loud. Be upfront about the deal you're making, and you'll earn way more respect. Then there's the whole retail talk. Target, Williams-Sonoma, even talk of expanding into candles and home goods. That says one thing loud and clear. The plan is spread, not depth. And that's classic celebrity brand playbook. Get on every shelf as fast as possible. But here's the danger. Most brands don't die from a lack of attention. They crash because they go wide before they go deep. Real loyalty comes from doing one thing boringly well for a long time. Make the jam so good people reorder it without even thinking. Then build the second product with the same kind of care. Because the moment you slap your name on too many things too fast, your name starts losing weight. It becomes just a label, not a legacy. A logo isn't a soul, and a candle isn't a story. The real story is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And right now, that story sounds a lot like, yeah, it looks nice, but I don't buy it. That's the real danger right there. Now let's circle back to the pregnancy video moment and that super joyful feed. Sharing personal moments is completely your right. No one's questioning that. But don't say you don't pay attention to the noise when you're clearly planning an interview built to reshape it. Because come on, we all know. You look, your team looks, everyone with a brand looks. That's literally how impact gets measured these days. Pretending you don't see it just makes you sound both above it and secretly hurt by it. You can't say I don't care and this really hurts me in the same breath. That mix throws people off. That confusing energy is exactly what makes the audience hesitate. You can be strong and still admit you read the comments. You can be private and still admit that you care. Just keep it consistent, because consistency builds trust. Here's the part that would change everything, and fast. Share one real receipt. Not a vibe, not a slogan, not a moody edit. Just one piece of solid grown-up proof. How many units were in drop 1? How many in drop 2? What's the repurchase rate after 60 days? What's the return rate? How many orders came from paid ads versus organic buyers? How many came from outside the US? If you're out here saying you needed a purchase order for 1 million units, then show the PO. And if you can't show it, then don't say it. It's that simple. The strongest brands in the world don't earn authenticity through filters or hashtags. They earn it by facing the dull, boring math that proves the hype is real. That's what keeps a brand honest. Not by running from the truth, but by standing in it. Now, let's break down where the first real cracks start showing, because this is the point where trust starts leaking fast, and people quietly check out. First up, no time to cook versus lifestyle tips from your kitchen. If you don't cook, then don't sell kitchen life. Sell the real you. People respect honesty way more than a perfectly staged plate. Saying 10 times more doesn't mean much if the starting number was tiny. A small number multiplied is still small. And if it's actually big, then just say that. If it's small, say, we're small and learning. That kind of blunt honesty would shock people. In a good way. Second issue, home recipe versus corporate scale. Every legit food brand ends up using co-packers or production plants when they grow. That's normal. But don't act like your kitchen counter is still the factory when everyone knows it's not. Give credit where it's due. Shout out the ops team. Put them on camera. Show one rough day on the line when something breaks or production runs late. That's how real respect is earned, not through soft, polished storytelling. Third issue, authenticity versus the keepsake jar. A pen holder is not proof of soul. Real soul comes from clean ingredients, consistent flavor across every batch, and a fair price that doesn't spike with every launch. That's what gives a product real meaning. And finally, the machine hates me versus I'm plugged into the machine. You can't have it both ways. You can't call out the system as the villain while cashing its checks behind the scenes. That mixed message is exactly where people start losing faith. And once that happens, it's hard to win them back. You can't play the outsider and the insider in the same breath without sparking friction. If you're part of the machine, then just be transparent about it. Own the access and move smart with it. Now, To be fair, a lot of celebrity brands start off clumsy and clean things up over time. It's totally possible to turn it around. Here's how, plain and simple. First, tell people exactly how many jars were in the first 2 drops. No mystery, no fluff, just numbers. Then, commit to one hero product for at least 12 straight months before adding anything new. Show the plant, show the crew. Name your food scientist, name your operations lead. Put faces to the process so people can see the real hands behind the work. Next, do one unscripted Q&A with tough questions. No pre-screening, no approved list, just real talk. Take the hits calmly, because that's what maturity looks like. And please, don't call curated content real life. Call it what it actually is, what we share. That one small phrase change removes the fake halo and gives you space to be human again. Now let's talk about that million cobblers line, because that clip replayed everywhere. Sure, it's cute, but it's also a hedge. Real builders don't hide behind dessert metaphors. They talk about scale like they've bled for it. They'll say, "We failed 3 pilot runs before fixing heat distribution." They'll say, "We lost 2% of labels and had to reprint everything." They'll say, "We switched suppliers because the fruit bricks were inconsistent." None of that is secret. That's experience. Those are signals that tell the audience, you're not acting, you're actually building. Now we're talking about that claim that critics are just clickbait machines. Sure, some are. The internet loves a pile-on, no doubt. But here's the truth that actually matters. People are way sharper than most brands give them credit for. They can spot a mismatch between the story and reality faster than any PR team could ever spin it. When you say you want privacy, but then sell a show about your home life, people notice that contradiction. When you say, "The world is unfair," but also claim, "I don't read any of it," people catch that dodge instantly. And when you call yourself a builder but only speak like a polished brand ambassador, that gap doesn't go unnoticed. And when people start noticing, they don't always hate. They just quietly stop believing. And when belief fades, buying fades too. That's way worse than a few mean comments. Because silence is death for a brand. Here's the twist that might surprise you. I don't think this whole thing is doomed. Not at all. There's a clear and simple path back to trust. It's not dramatic, it's not flashy, and it's definitely not a music-backed montage with a sunset shot. It's humble, it's boring, and it's powerful. Do less. Prove more. Say less. Show receipts. If you keep that energy for just 6 months, 6 solid months, you'll feel the shift happen. The tone changes, the jokes soften, and even the harshest clips start to fade. And when that happens, even people who don't like you will quietly admit, "Okay, that was real." You can't buy that kind of respect. You've got to earn it. And now, let's finally talk about the elephant everyone keeps pretending isn't standing right there in the room, because it's time to stop dodging it and start dealing with it head on. Let's get into the real talk. The first look deal chatter and those quieter whispers about the money side of things. Once again, honesty always wins here. Just say the truth. Say, "Our first chapter was bumpy. We learned fast. We got a smaller deal because we still have a lot to prove. We're focused on making a show that can stand on its own." That's it. Simple, clean, and confident. When you say that, people actually relax. They trust it because it feels real. But when you wrap it all up in vague words like doubling down on joy, evolution, and shared vision while skipping over the obvious, people feel managed. And nobody likes being handled like an audience in a PR stunt. People don't want spin. They want truth in small, honest bites. Here's one single sentence that would win more hearts than any glossy photo shoot ever could. We're building slow. The first drop was small. We made mistakes. The second drop was bigger and better. We're not at 1 million, not even close, but we're not pretending. We're trying. That's strength right there. That's human. That's believable. You don't need a halo. You need a heartbeat. Now imagine the better interview. Same chair, same lights, just different words. "I don't cook. Most nights we order in. I like things neat, so I plate it nicely. It makes me happy. I know that sounds extra. It is. I'm extra, and I'm fine with that." That kind of honesty hits harder than any branding plan ever could. It doesn't just sound good. It feels good. It's simple truth with real flavor, and that's what people remember. We made 2,000 jars the first time, and yeah, we sold out. Not because we're famous, but because our audience is actually loyal. That felt real good. Then, the second round came. 20,000 jars, and boom, sold out again. But we're not jumping to 1 million anytime soon. We're just not built for that yet. Right now, we're testing shelf life in warmer states, learning things the hard way and still figuring it out as we go. Netflix invested in us. That means pressure for sure. But it also means access. Better suppliers, better production, better tools. And I'm grateful for that. It's not some secret deal in the shadows. That's the reality. And I want to make that deal worth it for them and for us. And yeah, I read some of the noise. Not all of it, but some. It gets to me sometimes because I'm human. I don't want to live online 24/7, but I do live in the world. And the world is loud. I'm learning how to listen for what's actually useful, even in the chaos. If I heard that version of the interview, I'd stop being annoyed. I'd start listening. I might even buy a jar, and not because of the name, but because of the honesty. And that's exactly why this needs to be said. Because the gap between the message and reality is the whole game right now. The internet is brutal, but it's not dumb. People will give grace to real, flawed humans. They just won't give it to perfect mannequins pretending to be flawed for clout. If you want grace, you've got to fail in public a little. You've got to take a hit without posting a 3-paragraph explanation about why it wasn't fair. Because here's what people actually want to know. And this is where it all really starts to matter. Does it taste good every single time? Is the price fair for what I'm actually getting? Do you treat me like a person or just a prop for your content? Do you tell me the truth when you mess up? Do you respect my mind or do you try to hypnotize me with fancy words and soft lighting? If you can honestly say yes to those questions, you can sell anything. Jam, candles, towels, doesn't matter. But if you can't, even the prettiest photo and coziest caption will fade fast. The market has zero patience for polished lies. What it rewards, over and over, is simple truth, repeated with consistency and backed by real, unglamorous work. No shortcuts, no fake shine, just effort and honesty every time. So here's my final take on that interview. It didn't flop because it was negative. It didn't flop because people were mean. It fell flat because it was coated in sugar and served like substance. It failed because it wanted us to treat a feeling like a fact. It failed because it tried to speak to everyone, and in the end, it sounded like it spoke to no one. But here's the good news. That can totally change. Change doesn't come from a new tagline or a rebrand. It comes from building new habits. Show one real thing every time you speak. Drop one number, mention one name from the factory floor, or own one mistake without spinning it. That's how trust gets rebuilt. You say the brand is about joy? Okay, then let's talk about real joy. Real joy is honest, not rehearsed. Real joy is specific. It's not some mood board. It's the feeling when a jar tastes the same in July and in January. It's when someone behind the scenes gets credit publicly for what they actually did. It's when the price stays fair, even when the hype goes wild. That's the kind of joy people believe in, and that's the kind that lasts. Joy is a founder who says, "We're not there yet," and actually means it. Do that, and the whole story shifts, slowly, quietly, but for real. Until then, it's just nice pictures, nice words, and thin proof. That's why people laughed. Not out of hate, but because they didn't believe it. Belief is the only real currency here. You can't print it, fake it, or act it out. You earn it. So yeah, less performance, more proof. Less halo, more human. When that happens, the jar becomes more than packaging. It becomes real. If you want me to break down the investor side, say show the receipts. If you want me to test the jam, say test the jam. And if you're ready for the next story, say next topic. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.